So every once in a while I stumble across a video on the internet from a photographer who claims that photography is all about the photographer and has absolutely nothing to do with the gear you use. And while I appreciate the general message behind these videos, I see things a little bit different. I believe saying the equipment doesn't matter at all is just not true and can be disappointing for some people, especially those just starting out in photography. And here's why. So generally speaking, you can definitely take impressive photos with old cameras and lenses, no question about that. For example, I myself used this camera here, this one, until the beginning of this year. This is a Sony a7R Mark II, a camera that originally came out in 2015, so it's almost 10 years old at this point. And I realize I feel a little bit old actually at this point, okay. But nonetheless, at the beginning of the year I upgraded to a Sony a7R Mark IV. And even that isn't a new camera by any means, as the Sony a7R Mark IV was released back in 2019, so it's almost 5 years old as well. The reason for the upgrade wasn't the better image quality, because let's be honest, you can hardly tell any differences between these cameras. It even becomes harder as I use the same lenses I have used on the Sony a7R Mark II. Or can you tell which of these two photos was taken with a 10-year-old camera and which one was taken with a 5-year-old camera? And that brings me to the main point of this video. I didn't buy this camera for the supposedly better image quality, but because it makes my work a lot easier in many areas. I need to give you a bit of background here. For a long time, my photography was like 99% about landscapes, nature, products, real estate, architecture, and basically other non-living things. However, for some time now, I've been earning my money by, among other things, shooting weddings. And especially doing photo shoots with people. And particularly at weddings, you often have to take many photos in quick succession of moments that cannot be repeated. And here, having a higher continuous shutter speed or burst mode and a good autofocus is a huge game changer. And this is where things have really improved over the past few years. Many modern cameras now even have built-in artificial intelligence to help guarantee an even faster focus, for example. There are even more extreme examples like sports photography, where using manual focus would be quite outdated these days actually. I've noticed that often the professional photographers with amazing equipment are the ones that tell you that the gear doesn't matter at all and that it's solely about the photographer itself. I find this a little bit unfair to beginners who, of course, usually don't have equipment worth tens of thousands of dollars or euros or pounds. I'm German, I don't know who might watch this video in the future, but you get the idea. So just think about it for a moment. You're buying your first camera and starting to take photography more seriously. Maybe you're interested in wildlife photography or you love photographing car races. And you notice that your pictures often come out blurry or shaky or you miss a lot of moments. That can definitely be frustrating and it makes you start to doubt whether you have any talent for photography at all maybe. I definitely would think about it when I were in this situation. But the real reason why the photos might not look as impressive as those pictures you admire could be that the photographer who took them was using a $5,000 camera body and a $10,000 high-end telephoto lens, shooting 30 frames per second in full quality with perfect focus in every single picture. Meanwhile, you are trying to achieve the same outcome with a 10-year-old camera and a lens that costs a few $100s. And the same result is just technically not possible. Some might think no, but as a professional photographer, you should be able to focus manually super fast and accurate, and people managed to shoot races and sports even without modern technology many years ago. And yes, car races were photographed 20 years ago as well, but I think if you compare the images from back in the days to those of today, you can definitely see differences which are more than just the pure image quality. And besides that, there is no one in the world who can refocus a single scene multiple times per second. And in this regard, technology has simply surpassed human capabilities and we just have to acknowledge that. Autofocus and shooting speed are just a couple of examples. For instance, the new Sony a9 Mark III features what's called a global shutter. You might have already heard about it. Other manufacturers will soon follow that path if they haven't already. This technology makes it possible to capture images of fast-moving objects without distortions, something that would be not possible with other cameras. If you want to learn more about that, there are a ton of great videos here on YouTube about the new global shutter technology. So overall, this video is not meant to be discouraging at all, but rather to give a realistic outlook on what to expect when using older equipment. And this doesn't mean that older technology is bad. As I said, I don't have the latest and greatest gear available on the camera market for myself, and to be honest, hardly anyone can afford that anyways. What I really want to tell you with this video is that it's a good idea to think about what you want to shoot and then see what technical requirements you need for that. And of course, I understand that as a beginner you most likely don't know this yet, and that's completely okay. For those people, used and older camera models and technology in general are definitely recommendable. Since this target group usually doesn't make money with photography, it doesn't matter how many pictures have perfect focus or if you can take like 5 or 30 pictures per second. You can still produce wonderful images, but it's important to realize that not everything is in the hands of the photographer or has to do with the level of experience you might have. And remember, what even the most modern camera can't do for you is develop a sense for the subject, composition and aesthetics. This still lies 100% with the photographer, and that's a really good thing, I believe. I hope I could offer you a slightly different perspective on this topic and that you might have gained some value from this video. If you've watched this far, thank you so much for watching, and if you have a different opinion on this topic, I'd really love to hear it and discuss it in the comments below. I have other videos on this channel about photography in general for beginners and amateurs and even for professionals, and I'd be happy if you stop by again. And now I hope you have a great day and goodbye.